Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day one here of EMEA Contenders Trials. We're starting off the day right with a fantastic matchup. We've got HSL Esports taking on Vox Nihili and taking you through all of the action today. My name is Dor, and I am joined by the always amazing Moxie. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Dor. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Contenders Trials interacts with the new meta, because it's here, the age of Genji. We knew he would be coming back for a while. Genji means they haven't had the skins, they haven't really had a place in compositions. No more! Blizzard has allowed that DPS to come right back to the forefront, all the while slowly removing quite a few counters. So if you've got a Genji player and he knows his stuff, then you have an automatic leg up in all of these competitions.
I think just as exciting as all the Genji that we've been seeing, though, is the stuff that surrounds Genji. We have seen all sorts of bunkers being played even with Genji, acting sort of as a brawler. We've seen even the Brigitte post-nerf being played a decent bit. And these teams as well, we were talking about it before the cast. It has been a little bit since last time we got to see them in Open Division, so it'd be really nice to see how they adapt to a new meta and how they can bring something to the table that adapts to what they want to play as well.
Yeah, it has been a while since we've got to see these guys in action, and so the last time that Vox Nihili and HSL Esports were properly playing at the forefront of competitions was way back when Echo just had come out and was dominating, and you had all of those double shield compositions with the Echo, with the Ashe, the Orisa, and the Sigma. And so all of the trophies, all of the tournaments that you were managing to be on top of, suddenly they don't matter anymore, because this is a big old new meta, and if you have double shielding, you're in a good spot. But we're not really seeing the Echo or the Ashe dominating the DPS picks now. It's much more moved into that Genji and how you can set up him to have those blades, to the point where those poor Baptistes on the other side, it's a horrible time though to be a support, because if you're a Zen, you get bullied out of your ultimate. If you're a Baptiste, you get bullied into throwing down a 25-second cooldown, and as soon as those are popped, that Genji blade comes out, and all you can do is watch as your team is torn into shreds.
And there's so many different ways that people have been setting it up as well. With the double shield compositions, you and I have seen a lot of the bongo blades, which have been surprisingly effective, and these Genji's ability to stay alive is unfounded, I'll tell you that much.
I mean, it works though, doesn't it? Because you take the nano boost, that's normally an individual ultimate going onto one person, and then when you've got an Orisa, you've got a supercharger, and that affects your entire team. And not only that, you're able to place them. We're seeing Orisas being very careful about when they drop those deployables in behind your line of sight so they don't get taken out. And we've even got to have a little bit of a chat with some Orisa specialists to see whether or not it's coincidence that the supercharges comes in when the blade comes through. No, these guys are doing it on purpose. Supercharges goes down, and that sends the other team into an absolute panic. And so much utility, so many abilities are put in when supercharges initially comes down that you don't have much left to deal with when the blades immediately popped afterwards.
No, and let's talk a little bit about what we have actually going on today. Now we've gone over the meta a little bit. The format for this is a little bit interesting, seeing as the teams aren't choosing from a map pool. There's one already given to them.
Yeah, it's going to be hand-picked maps: Busan, Blizzard World, Anubis, Route 66, and if we get there, Ilios followed by Oasis. Looking forward to seeing whether it will be that longer map though, because remember though, this is a first to 2 instead of a first to 3. So if you're able to get off the board early in Busan, you set yourself up to take that match point.
Yeah, we're looking at what is likely to be a little bit of a shorter series here, but of course the first map is going to dictate so much, because you take this, you immediately send things into game point, and if that doesn't make a statement, if that doesn't put the pressure on another team, I don't know what will.
Yeah, and looking through these team sheets as well, Vox Nihili has just a slightest bit of an advantage over HSL Esports, because they have someone who actually plays Genji. That's Ido. And you look at what HSL come in with that DPS lineup, there's the Echo, there's the Tracer, and these are things that you could run previously, but not really right now.
Yeah, out of the gate though, we're seeing two very similar double shielding compositions. However, Kurama and Sir Gibson swapping off to the Tracer is going to act like effectively a pulse bomb farmer, looking to separate away those shields, looking to put a pulse bomb into the backline and really break things down. Running up though, both of them want to take this high side. However, at the end of the day, it's going to be HSL getting the positioning they're looking for. Moving from a great position to dish out the damage for Gibson in the backline, trying to keep the rest of the team alive. But Kage going down, they lose a lot of their damage right now. HSL need to be careful about how they proceed. They need to end this fight early, or else they're going to get ground out by just the dynamite of Otto and Kurama in their backline.
Oh, Nihili doing such a good job of managing to pick up that point as well. So if you're HSL, you've got to try and reset as quickly as you can, because if you go any longer, you're just giving up tick percentage and ultimate charge. And look at Ido, 10% away from that first ultimate, and it's a completely different story on the other side for HSL. Kage hasn't even been able to get past 50%.
Absolutely. Kage now has a little bit of catch-up to play, but taking out that Axe so early is so important, right? You remove that main source of damage. The Tracer effectively is going to be playing janitor, sweeping and cleaning up all the damage that Dynamite's able to do, but with Box Nihili in such a good position, it's going to be extremely difficult to actually land those. HSL now, they're trying to take the same way around that they did prior, but they've already taken a ton of damage there. The Bob is up, so is the Amputation Matrix. There's so many things in their way. With the Immortality Gate already going down to Box Nihili, they need to be careful about how they proceed here. HSL wraps their way around, put themselves in a very good position away from that Bob, but they're being collapsed on, and NKB takes out Snappy to start things off, and after that, the team's just going to crumble a bit as HSL fall once again.
Oh, it's the pincer movement, and it's so clean, it's so clinical. You don't go for the front line, you take Snappy out on that Batiste first, and when you have that Brigitte, remember the shield, it's still the same, but you have to worry about those armor packs. You can't get overhealed, which means if your Batiste goes down, you are just gasping for breath in any sort of fight.
Yeah, losing the main healer, and that is going to be a real detriment, but now we see another approach from the same angle. Look at Kurama. He's got the pulse bomb. Who is he going to aim for? Blink in straight onto the Ash, catches two, and down they go. HSL yet again, 87% ticking over onto the point, and they don't have much of a chance, but they're gonna try. Barris finds them too, a Bob onto a third Vendetta. They're pulling it back. HSL stand a chance of this. They just need to remove that Orisa, and they can take care of this point.
Oh, they need to worry about the Tracer though as well. Kurama doing such a good job already, 60% to that next pulse bomb, and there's no CC.
The Tracer on point, ADM making it back in. It's all about the stall, but one of them will fall. Kurama goes down, and there's an opening right now for HSL to take care of.
Oh, this is going to be extremely hard though, even if you're able to get that flip going on through, because Nihili will be so close to those ultimates, and HSL we need to win every single one of these fights.
Yeah, it is must win, but you're coming in. You only really have the pulse bomb to work with. Meanwhile, Box Nihili is coming up on so much.
Yeah, you're coming in with a Bob. Kurama's so close to that pulse bomb, and we've already seen that pulse bomb can be huge. The one thing you can be quite happy with though is that NKZ had to swap onto the Hammond just to try and get back into that fight and keep the stall contested for his team. And so the ultimate charge on that Sigma Flux has been completely reset, but likewise, so has Vendetta. If either of those guys are able to get that ultimate online faster than the other, they've got an automatic advantage.
For the universe to make sense to you.
It's about using that advantage and making sure you can roll it into a map victory right now if you're HSL. That's going to be so key for them. At 25%, you're only a quarter of the way there. You've got a few more fights to go. But right now, they have this middle of the point possession, and they're using it beautifully to take down member after member of Box Nihili.
Yeah, Proki gonna pop the rally, just giving everyone a little bit of that armor, trying to deal with this pop. It's a lot of investment, though.
Yeah, now we see Box Nihili. They've taken up position on the point. The Bob's really the only bit of HP left for HSL. Overtime is going to begin to tick down here, and it feels like map 1 is going to be heading straight on over to Box Nihili.
Right, Kurama did not even have to use that pulse bomb. And I think if we're looking at what HSL were running, they tried to go for that mirror matchup, right? And in those first engagements, we saw that the mirror matchup was just a little bit uneven. And they were trying to put Sir Gibson against Kurama, but Kurama was the one trying to die with those pulse bombs. And so at a certain point, about halfway through the map, you need to start thinking to yourself, maybe it's time to swap up your composition. Maybe it's time not just to have the Brigitte there to counter the Tracer, but something like a McCree with that flashbang to give your backline just a little bit more safety. Because Snappy was always so vulnerable, so juicy on that Batiste, and always target #1 for Box Nihili to go for.
Yeah, not to mention how well they rolled after the first fight. They used the ultimate advantage so beautifully, taking the economy and never letting go of it. Now they're on a completely different composition. Vox Nihili are looking to do the exact same thing. Meanwhile, HSL sticking on to the tried and true. The double shield still remains. Now it's all about setting up for the dive, but Kurama already goes down. Kage takes his head off his shoulders, make it 2 even. Take a bite out of the team and an early fight win here for HSL.
When you couple up a Tracer with a Sombra, you are always going to be lacking in that damage department, especially if your front line is dive. And if you're Vox Nihili, you need a target to go for, right? You want to gravitate towards Snappy, but Snappy is going to be in the midst of this double shield composition right there with that immortality field, with that Brigida, with the shield bash, and it's going to be so hard for either the Sombra or the Tracer to find value, and you're seeing it right down the ult charge.
Yeah, and again, they're going to struggle to find value as they have not managed to break this bunker at all. Sir Gibson, the only one in any remote trouble, will just get picked right back up to 150 HP. Kage, though, goes down in the back quietly. Probably going to be taking him down. Will get trade out for his life, but that's a lot of the damage gone from this double shield. Now there's an opportunity for Vox Nihili to move in. They can take their time because they're not getting constantly dynamited and burned down. Their backline falling one by one. Snappy goes next. Nat will fall, though. It's trades left and right here.
Well, HSL going to have a little bit of a swap Kage onto the McCree, but it means you don't really get into the fight fast enough to contribute other than flashbang, and now you've already gone down.
And finally, we're going to see Vox Nihili grind it out and close out this fight, but that was a pretty serious amount of stagger from HSL.
Yeah, but if you're Vox Nihili, you're happy. You've built up your win condition. IDEO is going to have tap EMP, and if you're HSL, the composition that you're playing, it's going to be so bunched up, so close together. It all hinges on Snappy. If Snappy gets caught out by this EMP, the team is just a free fight loss. If he's able to survive, if he's able to get the immortality field out, then you've got a chance.
You can see him, he's staying on the high ground here just to avoid it. Beautiful play by the Baptiste. You see that immortality field comes out, it's going to save their lives, but not for the pulse bomb. Maybe, yes, it's just enough to keep them alive. Now Adam trying to reposition. ADM wrapping their way around, but the dive going to be relatively unsuccessful for the time being.
Yeah, and you do see Froki actually pop that rally to try and keep Vox Nihili still up and alive, but it's HSL who are going to be coming in to these ultimates that they can really use to overpower.
Yeah, and just about even percentage about to be on these points. HSL is going to be wanting this take back, but it's going to be really hard for them.
I mean, Kurama does manage to get to make that 3. And here's the thing, if you're HSL, you're running so much Tracer counter at the moment right now. You've got a McCree. You've even swapped the Gibson off the Tracer yourself and onto the Turbulence, so you've got that turret that you can just plunk down and deter that Sombra, that Tracer from chipping away at your backline. But it's so hard to set up if you don't have control at that point. You've got the ultimates, you've got the Sigma Flex, you've got Kage with that McCree, and you know you're going to be going for that higher noon.
Yeah, this is likely to be the best opportunity that HSL are gonna get. It's just a matter of whether or not Vox Nihili can find that pick, use that dive effectively to take down one of the supports. Likely Snappy would be the most optimal for them, but they're gonna use the Critical Flex very aggressively, put down Jaru onto the point, and now with the dive having a lot less field to work with, we'll see the double shield move up and take down Kurama. Now with so much space to work with, HSL are feeling a lot more comfortable about this take.
Yeah, but Vox Nihili, they know they've just got to get this EMP online, and so it's all about setting the stage up for Ida right now.
Absolutely. Getting percentage, getting it into that final fight territory so you can win off that EMP like you mentioned.
I mean, you've already got 85%, you just need that one last fight win, and HSL, they don't really have the ultimates to try and keep you away right now. You've got a Molten Core, and that's a lot of space control on the point. But it's Snappy that you have to worry about. This fatigue is the one thing that can immediately screw your plans.
Absolutely, but he does get caught in the EMP and will be the first to fall. Vox Nihili have so much follow-up. Even the pulse bomb's still online for Kurama.
Going to be keeping it online just a little bit longer as well. HSL did manage to get that flip, still that 96%, but now Vox Nihili have picked it up, and they will still have that pulse bomb in the pocket. In fact, Snappy's onto the Moira just because he's afraid that Tracer's going to be coming for him to try to stick up.
Especially difficult. ADM already going down. The target focus is so good here from Vox Nihili, and you can already see him hunting with the pulse bomb. Doesn't quite connect though. Over time, beginning to tick down. It's going to make it really, really hard for Vox Nihili to actually gain position on the point. You see Kage is going to get knocked out of position, but not before he can take down the Ana. Nat falls, and it's slowly being turned the way of Vox Nihili as the engagement falls flat.
Yeah, Froki able to just clear off the rest of those members of HSL. And it was, you know, a much better shot that HSL had on that map because they started putting in those counters with that McCree, with that Torbjorn, but they still just weren't able to stem the bleeding because they had one thing that counted the EMP, and that was an Immortality Field. An Immortality Field, unfortunately, is just so easy for teams to work around when it's got that little chip of health bar, and it only comes online 25 seconds each time.
Absolutely. I mean, Snappy played it really well one of the 2 times that he ended up getting EMP'd, but unfortunately it's just not enough. I think they needed to win more fights while the EMP wasn't available for Fox Nihili.
I mean, the thing was, they all kept coming from the same places, right? They didn't have that sort of double focus that was available for Vox Nihili's composition. When you've got that Sombra, that Tracer, you don't do a lot of damage, but you've got a lot of map coverage. And so if you're able to harass all of these small pockets and sort of shepherd the majority of HSL into your double shield composition where you can just collapse in on them, then it's extremely hard for HSL to actually break away from that. Because they didn't have anything beside from that flashbang, beside from that Torbjorn, and we didn't even get to see the Torbjorn properly set up those turrets because they just didn't have the time, the space that you need to get that luxury going for you.
Absolutely, and I think it's even crazier to see, though, Vox Nihili, they were able to win on so many fronts, right? We saw them run 2 different compositions and win both times. Meanwhile, HSL could not get a foothold with this double shield, and even though they gave us a couple different looks DPS-wise, they really weren't able to find any success counter-diving, and I think what that has showed us kind of over this map was their issues dealing with pressure. Whether it was Vox Nihili pushing forward with double shield or with dive, they continuously gave up space, they never really successfully held their ground, and they suffered for it big time.
Yeah, and they didn't really have any immediate win condition to cycle forward to. It's like, you compare the compositions, Vox Nihili have that Sombra, and that means everything that you do is all built around setting that Sombra up to get EMP as fast as possible because that's your free fight win button. You look at HSL Esports, they were running the Sigma, they were running the McCree. Both Flux and Deadeye were available for this team, and even better for those guys, there wasn't a Batiste on the other side. It was an Ana, which means no Immortality Field to bait out. You can Flux up in the air and pop that McCree ultimate and know that it's guaranteed to get picks. But what do? They do them separately, and they're only able to get tiny little bits of kills rather than the entire team wiped off the slate.
Yeah, and it's not just how you use your ultimates as well. As much as we saw the failure to combo their ultimates properly from HSL, I feel like Vox Nihili, second they gain control of the ultimate economy, it happened the same way it did in the first map, and then even more so in the second one because they were running something like an EMP. They have a very strong idea of this is what we need to use to win this fight so that we still have resources later, and then understood that they could afford to lose that fight against HSL because they just have 5 ultimates in the next one.
Yeah, if you're HSL, I think going forward, you need to really identify the crux of Vox Nihili's composition, because it should have been clear of day, as clear as day that they were going to be moving towards that EMP, and that means that you put obstacles, as many obstacles as you can possibly manage to stop them. But the Sombra wasn't really the focus that they were going for. Time and time again, it really felt like HSL were trying to force that frontline fight, right? When they would just go for the tanks and try to move on the rest of the team from there, or try and approach the point, not from the sides, but just go straight for the throat and hope that Vox Nihili would try and collapse in on all sides. And because they were collapsing in on all sides, they're just a little bit weaker. They only have 1 or 2 people to fall back onto rather than the entire team to go for that trustful exercise. And it meant that the Sombra, that the Tracer got just a little bit more free reign than they really should have been allowed.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you put it best when you said they didn't put any obstacles in their way. Usually you expect the dive to really have to poke and prod and try and open up a couple doors here and there, like a mouse going through a maze searching for the cheese. But instead of there being a maze, it was just like a mouse and some cheese in the box. They just jumped on top of the cheese and they got it every single time.
I mean, HSL did try. They tried to put in the McCree, they tried to put in the Torbjorn, but you didn't see the turret finding value. You didn't see the turret getting to chip away at that Tracer, at that Sombra, because you weren't in control of space. And a Torbjorn who's set up on a defense is always going to find more value than the attack job. We've even memed it in the Overwatch community, you know, before Torbjorn came back to prominence in the beginnings of this year. If you saw an attack Torbjorn on your team, everyone would be calling for that player to be reported, because there's obviously something that they really don't want to play in that round. But because you were just constantly trying to move in with that turret where you just weren't able to set it up, or if you were able to set it up, it just got taken down as quickly as it comes off cooldown, then you just weren't really able to find much of that. And I would really have preferred they go for a sort of counter-focus play of their own, have half of the team moving on to point and the rest of the half focusing down that back line, because the Tracer and the Sombra were doing a lot. But they were alive for so long because there was just no pressure on the supports of Vox Nihili at all.
Well, HSL, they've got a few issues to fix in this upcoming map, but we're heading to a completely new style. It's going to be hybrid, and we're going to everyone's favorite amusement park. It's Blizzard World, and I think that offers up a lot of new options here to HSL.
Yeah, Blizzard World is one of those where you have so many options to choose from when it comes to composition, and we're seeing it right now. There's a Mercy on the field, too. There's a Mercy, and that means that there's going to be a lot of damage boosting. And that means that you have to be extremely worried and field something of your own that can try and contest Ido on this Ashe, because we know how quickly that Ashe gets up to that ultimate, 80%, 90% in that first fight of Busan Sanctuary, and that was before they had a damage boost attached to their backside 24/7.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a time here for HSL trying to take away the victory, but they're gonna do their best, starting off with the early Widow shots from Kage, not really finding all that much value, swapping over to the Ashe. That's not too much of a surprise to see here, but double shield into double shield is something and a song that we've heard before in this series, which kind of scares me for HSL.
I mean, what scares me for HSL is the Gibson on this Tracer, because you're just going to try and go in there, but you can't go for that backline because Pingu is going to be on that Mei, primary fire CCing you before you can even get a pick.
Definitely gonna be tricky for Sir Gibson, but he's also kind of their only way of cracking this open. They've broken the shields though, and with that, Vox Nihili are gonna be forced straight on back. They're rotating late though, and Jaru going down extremely low, but just barely not gonna be taken out. Sir Gibson, in fact, is being the first to fall, exactly like you mentioned, getting his head taken off his shoulders by Ido yet again.
Yeah, and it's just gonna be Rum on this Orisa trying to get away, but Amplification Matrix already up and invested for Vox Nihili is immediately going to shut that fight down. This is something you can take advantage of now though, because if you're HSL, you're not running that Lucio, you don't have anything to immediately speed boost you into those engagements, which means if you're far away and Amplification Matrix is up for the other side and they're in control of high ground, you're going to take so much damage, you've already lost a person pretty much early on in that rotation. Now, Snappy's got an Amplification Matrix of his own, and so Gibson can go for that same play, go onto point, contest that double shield bunker up on the high ground, force them away, all while HSL drops that Amplification Matrix and clears up after him.
They're pressuring the point while they do this as well, and that's going to make it extremely tricky for Vox Nihili. They need to go contest this before they give away that second tick. Will do so, but now getting halted off the high ground. They forgot about their front line, and NKZ gonna be the first to fall. Finally, HSL are starting something off right now. They can start working their way around the left side of the point, set up that double shield again, and go to town. Jaru, though, with the bongo, is putting in a ton of damage, a huge halt, but it's just not enough without his off-tank to support him.
Yeah, Vendetta's got that Sigma Flux, but he doesn't even, well, he's going to use it. Little bit of an overinvestment, because remember, they don't have that Mercy on the side of HSL. The lost 80 amp, you're going to feel it tenfold.
Yeah, they're gonna throw on that ultimate effectively as a safety barrier, but maybe not necessary, even though they did lose their main tank.
I mean, now you don't really have anything beside ADM supercharges to try and snowball your way through, and that's just not enough, because Pingu is going to have an actual snowball in this next fight. That Blizzard is going to be so scary, and once again it all falls down to Snappy, because the Tracer may not be caught out in it, but that double shielding, that front line is going to be devastated. And you put an NKZ with that Sigma Flex over the top of the Blizzard, and you're looking at a very easy teamfight win for Vox Nihili.
Absolutely, and yet again, we're seeing them come away with the ultimate advantage. It's exactly what we harkened on in our break, and we're seeing it again here, but Ido falls first, traded out for Kage. Neither team gets an Ashe. Never mind, a resurrect from Froki. That Mercy pick finally coming in handy here for Vox Nihili. Gravitic Flux picks him up and lays him back down, but not to much applause. There's no damage to really follow anything up here.
Yeah, it's going to be, well, HSL on the retreat right about now, and ADM is going to be wanting those supercharges back door. It's going to be a little bit of an ego push for these guys until they cycle into some pretty powerful ultimates. But even then, you've got to be so worried, because you're going to be walking straight into Vox Nihili, who have that Blizzard, who have that free fight shutdown, as long as they're able to get it up once Snappy's invested that immortality build.
And again, it's getting out that immortality field. They've been extremely successful with it before. Snappy nearly gets accretioned into open area, but there's been such a good job from Nihili of just splitting players up, separating them away. So Gibson trying to poke and prod to kind of open up some sort of angle. But with the amplification matrix, this is definitely going to do it. Throwing in the blizzard, huge heat though from Vendetta, denies the snowball. Now it's free reign. They're forced into a small room. Double shield has them all set up. Snappy falls though now without main heals. This actually gets a lot harder for HSL.
Yeah, they're forced to use that Sigma Flux, and no one was keeping the Mercy away from Jaru's pack!
Oh god, it's all falling apart here for HSL. The Resurrect is there. Pingu still freezing people up. You go into the small room, you're giving yourself away to the Mei, and HSL somehow managed to lose that one in the latter half of the fight.
They do have a Bob, but that is going to be a better pill to swallow if you're HSL's ultimate economy, because you've got a Bob. But Jerry's got the supercharges, and a Bob has the health bar, and he can be shredded.
And again, over through this right room, Nihili are getting extremely aggressive. Jaru goes low, but won't be punished for it. Pingu, however, in the invulnerability field, is going to be keeping him up. And just HSL are unable to make any actual space. Finally, with the halt, they're going to get in onto the Pingu, but a great wall will be saving the rest of Nihili as they're just going to happily retreat behind their amplification matrix and dish out tons of damage onto HSL.
Oh, and Proki's able to get the res up yet again. No punishment on this Mercy, but HSL slowly pulling it back in this little side room. Snappy able to stay alive, keeps everyone up, and the Bob doing just enough damage to tip HSL over the edge and manage to win that fight over Nihili. But if you're Nihili, you've got a Blizzard. It was eaten the first time around, but if you're able to connect it this time, that's again that free fight win card this team is looking for to stem the momentum from HSL.
Yeah, HSL used so much to try and win that fight. Snappy had a clutch immortality field to keep people alive, but now Nihili are the ones with the high ground, and they know how to work with this. We saw it on the first point hold. They were relatively successful, but you have to contest the point. Good halt into 4, and there's that Blizzard that you mentioned. So Gibson the first to be taken down, and this fight's already over for Nihili.
It's such a beautiful bait play from Jaru. It looks like the Orisa's the one going to contest, and everyone from HSL sees a tasty main tank separated from the team, and that's when Pingu strikes. Out goes the Blizzard, and away goes HSL. And now, if you're HSL, you've got 23 seconds left, and you have to walk all the way onto that payload, try and set Vendetta up for a massive play with this Sigma Flex, and hope that Nat does not have the immortality field to save the team. Otherwise, you're dealing with 2 ultimates on the other side.
This Flux is the only thing that they have to get in. Starting off, though, is Nihili getting extremely aggressive. The Bongo, the Flux. Oh, he's laying down the laws of physics on HSL. They don't get to go anywhere. Will track overtime, but honestly, you're not getting much more than that. They're stopped at point B.
The only way HSL would have realistically been able to walk from their respawn onto the payload without losing a member in that rotation was if they swapped in a D.Va, because you needed defense matrix to just eat the amount of poke damage you were taking straight to your face. Supercharges is terrifying. We see teams turn tail and run away from them so that they don't have to take the brunt of the damage. But when you're in that space, when you've got 20 seconds left to touch the payload and you have to cross enemy territory, you've got to take the damage though, and they couldn't afford it.
Yeah, that last push was rough, but again, it all comes down to Nihili. They are constantly in charge of the ultimate economy. HSL basically don't get to do anything without Nihili's permission. Every time HSL win a fight, they're committing 5 ultimates, and Nihili, yeah, sure, we'll take that. Go ahead, use all your ultimates. We'll take the next one.
HSL also, they use ultimates to try and cover the fact that they're a player down. We've seen twice Vendetta now invest that Sigma Flex when HSL lose a player in these pushes to try and make up for the damage that that player is causing an absence for your team. And that, you can't do that when it comes to ultimate economy. Sigma Flex has to be used for something proactive, something to get picks rather than try and cover up a team's mistake. It's not a mercy res. It doesn't come online every 30 seconds. It takes time to build up to it. And we can see Nihili, their Sigma Flexes, they're used properly, they're used right, and they're able to put them out when they want to, rather than being forced into that really awkward position.
Well, HSL have one opportunity to fix this. Remember, this is it. First to 2, so they lose this map. It is curtains for them for this match. However, looking to end it all, Nihili coming out on a composition that we have seen them on before on this map. HSL still opting for Sir Gibson on the Tracer, who's been picked multiple times, has to get insane amounts of value here searching for that Mercy, searching for the Ashe, searching for the Baptiste. All those squishies in the backline are going to be the priority target. The Halts come in, but it's all staging at this point. A good wall from Pingu is just going to buy time effectively here for Vox Nihili, but the first pick is going to say so much. Froakie goes down. The supports get taken out from underneath Vox Nihili, and even in this back room, the Dynamite's going to land big. Now Sir Gibson can start to poke along that back line. Ido is not long for this life right now. 1 HP on the Ashe, and that's going to be HSL taking the first fight.
HSL doing a lovely job of separating Vox Nihili. They allow Sir Gibson to come in, act as that threat, and slowly but surely separate out, fragment the members of Vox Nihili where they just can't have that team play that these guys need when you're running that double shield composition. Everyone needs to be in the same space, especially if you've got those bouncers acting to keep that Tracer away from your backline. If Pingu moves away from Froakie on that, they are going to be so vulnerable, and HSL are going to be looking to split them off yet again. This time though, so Gibson's going to be coming in with that pulse bomb.
Absolutely, and not only have they won the fight, right? They've won the ultimate economy. Now it's a matter of holding on to it, something that we haven't seen them do. They don't need to overuse here. They need to use effectively. The Grivic Fluxes have not connected historically from Vendetta, but a good Halt Flux combo could win this entire fight for them. They'll just go for it. Halt in. The Grivic Flux up, only catches 2. Immortality Field, though, will be forced out of Vox Nihili as they cower back around this corner, waiting for the shields to come back up as Jaru is taken extremely low. A lot of the resources have been ground away, and HSL have achieved a lot of what they wanted to with that combo.
Yeah, but if you're Vox Nihili, you're just waiting right now for Pingu to come into that Blizzard and Ido to put in that Bob.
Sir Gibson, though, is going to connect onto Ido. The Bob does manage to get used, though, just early enough. However, it's off point, trading blow for blow right now, but Sir Gibson is the one to fall. Kage, though, is alive, and that's a major damage dealer still up for HSL, and it's going to make this impossible pretty much for Vox Nihili right now.
And there's the restraint that we wanted to see. The superchargers are still up to ADM, so Kage keeps the hold of that Bob.
And that's so big now coming into this fight. ADM's gonna drop the bongo, but so will Jaru. The damage both ways, but what a wall! Oh wait, he killed his own team! What are you doing, Pingu?
Yeah, that is the unfortunate haphazard circumstance of having a mate. Sometimes the walls separate out the enemy, other times they box your team straight into death. But Vox Nihili were able to pick up that point, and Pingu will have a Blizzard, which if you're HSL, you have to respect. So Snappy is going to be target numero uno, as we see Ido immediately trying to take the high ground, and Kage is so low on that HP, can't contest that Ashe for now.
Yeah, there's not much to take him off of the high ground. Kage is going to be set up there with plenty of support as well, and this is great for HSL. They can finally set themselves up in a solid position. They were constantly rotating on point, being picked apart, but they do have to hold this for 3 minutes and 11 seconds. That's a long time considering that Vox Nihili have a very strong ultimate economy yet again. They're looking to start themselves off, though. They've got the Blizzard, just waiting for the right opportunity to use it. But Kage finding the first pick onto Ido may dissuade them going for the Blizzard, but another eat from Vendetta! This guy is so hungry, ending fight after fight before they even begin.
You don't use the Sigma Flux, and he's so low. But Vox Nihili are burning everything that they've got right now. That Blizzard was a win condition, and they're so confused about what to do when it's been taken away yet again. If you're HSL, this is something you can take advantage of in this next fight. Vox Nihili committed so much. You're able to get ADM into that supercharger or Kage onto that Bob. That should be a fight win for these guys.
It should be, but it's just a matter of getting it up and staying alive here, HSL. This is the first time we've actually seen Vox Nihili really overcommit into something, so now we need to see the HSL take advantage of. With Froakie going down, who is in a very forward position, that's exactly the punish you're looking for. Now 6 versus 5, they can start to find more value, but Pingu, the icicle to the dome, Kage is going to be the first to fall on the side of HSL. It's going to open up a big opportunity to use that amplification matrix and get in for Vox Nihili. Now there's not nearly as much damage. Vendetta, another eat onto a Blizzard? That's the 3rd one today!
Yep, he is not being fed. And Hungry Sigmas are very good at tilting Maze, wanting that play of the game, but it doesn't matter. The Sigma's out, which means HSL don't have that main tank to fall behind and try and go for this contest. And now Vox Nihili are on the high ground. You're seeing Ido damage boosted there by Froakie, just hoping to get an early pick and finish this off.
Yeah, it's the end of the map here, the end of the line for HSL. If they can even get a touch, 2.32 meters. No, you don't even get in! All the damage from Vox Nihili was just too much to make it through. And they're gonna take themselves a map 2 and a victory on the day.
Yeah, Vox Nihili doing such a beautiful job. You may have had your Blizzard eaten 3 times, but the fact that you were able to get your Blizzard up so quickly more than made up for it, because Mei does so much, especially when you're trying to shut down a composition that's coming towards you. She is the bouncer of all bouncers, that primary fire CC. No Tracer wants to go anywhere near her when she is just doing that amount of damage and supported by her team.
Yeah, the Mei was a real problem, and every single composition that Vox Nihili threw out was a major problem. They showed us the double shield with multiple variants, they showed us the dive, and honestly, they showed me something that looks really scary going further on into the tournament. Meanwhile, HSL looked like they were just declawed. They were not set for this meta. Sir Gibson was really struggling on the Tracer. We didn't see any sort of Genji play. We didn't see any sort of mix-up. They just bashed their head on the wall multiple times, and yeah, it's never going to break.
I mean, we saw a different side to HSL in that first defense, though, on Blizzard World. When they split the team and they managed to get Froki out of the way first, and then things completely turned around. Because the supports are gone and you're able to collapse in on a very weak, very vulnerable team. And that was what they needed to do continuously. But Vox Nihili did such a good job at making sure that their supports were well defended. Each one of their members of the team was constantly making sure Froki and that Batiste was safe inside your lines, making sure that the Tracer wasn't able to just one-clip them going on through, and allowing that Mercy to get the reses off. Every single time Froki tried to go for a res, there was no punishment available from HSL, because if they tried, they would have been torn to shreds by a team protecting one of their supports.
Oh, Vox Nihili may have looked impregnable, but HSL, again, not able to pull it out. That's great stuff, though, for our first match starting off the day. We've got more to follow it up, though. We've got Roar Esports taking on the Ultimates in just a bit.